This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and today we're in California. I am here with Resources in Action. Since 2002, they've been helping you take your leadership to the next level with the support of executive coaching and consulting, developing your executive presence. I am joined here with Patrick Reilly, who is the president. Thanks so much for joining us here today, Patrick.
Welcome. Good to be here.
Let's start off a little bit about yourself. You were formally educated with a bachelor's degree at Tufts University, magna
Yes.
cum laude. With an MS in organizational development, you furthered your education as a master business coach. In the past, you have worked as an executive and HR consultant, also as an executive coach for many companies, including Google, Cisco, HP, and many more. Share with me a little bit how this journey began supporting leaders.
Well, it's kind of a funny story, if you would. It started with me having a really horrible boss with whom I worked for 3 years. And it was a nightmare to work with him. And at the time, I had no idea what the heck business coaching or executive coaching was. But I said to myself, it doesn't have to be this bad. You can be a manager of people and you can be a decent human being and get things done. And then one day I was in a meeting actually in Boulder, Colorado. I was talking to a friend of mine, and he told me he was going to school at night in Chicago studying organizational development. And I said, "What's that?" And I had no idea. And I said, "They pay people for that?" And he said, "Yes." And so we talked further. And so I started off actually doing organizational development consulting, and then it morphed into coaching later with a client from where I worked at the company. And then what happened is he said to me one day, "We got some real challenges here. Can you do some coaching?" And I just went through the door that he opened and I said, "Yes, Jeff." That was my answer. And while truthfully speaking, I'd never really done any coaching at that point, some of the consulting work I had done is a lot like what we call coaching today. So I wasn't quite just making it up on the spot, but that's how I got here. A series of accidents.
That is great. I mean, quite honestly, it's a story that started right here in Colorado. That's kind of cool. I mean, it's been said that when a leader walks into a room, you can almost feel it. I mean, this leadership presence, would you say, can it be taught, or is it just something we're born with?
Well, I think some people are born with it. They have a feel for how to talk to folks, and the rest of us have to learn. And there are some people for whom it is really difficult. But to me, there's three. One of my mentors, his name is Bob Sadler, who I've learned more about executive presence from him than anyone else, would say there's really sort of three components to it. And it's how you get people's attention. One is the words that you use, and it's more the rhythm and the staccato of the words that you say. And I say to people often, when you read, we have commas and periods. And when people speak, they seem to forget that. And it's often in the pauses, the short ones, the commas, and the longer ones with the periods that get people's attention. It creates a vacuum for their attention. That's one piece. The second piece is really the energy that people bring to it. If I'm just going to talk to you like that, why are you going to listen to me? But if I'm saying, "Wow, this is really great stuff, let me tell you why it's fabulous," right? There's that. And then there's the tone of voice, which has some relationship to the energy, but it's really about, am I coming across in a way where you go, "Wow, I want to listen to that song. It's interesting. It's got my attention. There's something about it that pulls me in." And so, yes, you can learn to do that. You can get better at it. You can improve. And like most things, you get better by practice and getting feedback. So that's how it works.
Lucky are those that are born with it, but even them, they can develop further. I mean, these leaders are obviously chosen because of their expertise. Do you feel many of them struggle to bring that expertise forward in a way that impacts others? And is that a struggle that you see quite often?
Pretty much every day, to be candid. I was just had a conversation with the head of HR about a client who is the CFO of a relatively large company. And he was brought in because he really is a whiz kid with the numbers and the dollars and cents. And he is really useful to the company. They really need him, given that the business is expanding. Except that what I've heard from other people is he's just not a leader. He does not conduct himself in ways where people are interested and want to follow him. And the single best way that you can tell if someone's a leader is they have followers. I know that sounds pretty simple and straightforward, but that's the easiest, simplest way. And some people don't know how to engage or interact with others in a way where they get their attention, they listen, they engage in back and forth dialogue and move things forward. It's just not that easy for some people. Again, it is something that's learnable or teachable. Some people, it's much, much tougher, right? And some people want to be able to speak to people and have them pay attention, listen, engage. And because at the end of the day, in most organizations today, even if you're the CEO, you can't get anything done unless you have other people with whom you're working. Just like before we got on the air here, you were getting with your folks so we could do the broadcast here. And it requires a bunch of people to coordinate their skills to make stuff happen. So, and if you build products or deliver services, which is essentially what all organizations do, there's nothing that one person can do. They have to be able to work with others to get stuff done. So,
definitely true. I've seen that firsthand myself. I mean, when we think of leaders, we usually don't think of adjectives like shy, afraid, unable to speak effectively. Yet, are these common even amongst leaders? And can they overcome that with training? And have you seen that happen, that transformation take place?
well, some people are more inclined socially, they're more extroverted, and some people are more introverted. They do their processing and stuff inside their head. And sometimes that's just harder for people who are inherently introverted. On the other hand, it is, interestingly enough, research on salespeople suggests that the most successful salespeople are actually introverted because people trust them. They don't make stuff up at the moment. They generally try to engage with their clients or customers, and they share and they have back and forth dialogue. And another study done by a guy named Jim Collins, who's a famous business author, suggests he defines some group of people as level 5 leaders, and he's specifically at the CEO level. But the people who had been most successful in his study as level 5 leaders were all introverted. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't be successful as a leader. You just have to learn how to use your assets in better ways and differently. So it's possible for all. And for people who are too extroverted, in fact, I just had a conversation yesterday with somebody else who has to tone it down because he pushes so hard and he's so out there with people that we all love to work with and be around people who are self-confident. We all have resistance to people who are a bit arrogant. And the line between the two is very subtle sometimes. So,
yeah, definitely. I mean, speaking of that, I mean, you teach not only how to speak with words, but also using their energy, even body language. Is it this combination that creates a presence that demands and really gets attention?
Well, it's very easy. We can all culturally speak. The Italians are known for like waving their hands around, right? So that's too much. However, when I'm speaking, so seeing people's hands engenders trust, and people want to see your whole shoulder girdle. Both of those things together are helpful. And then, of course, smiling works. Head nods, like you're doing right now with me, indicates, oh, I get what you're saying, right? You're communicating with me through that. You don't have to say a word, but I get, okay, I'm in sync with you now. We're like vibing together. So yes.
Definitely so. I mean, for leaders who are naturally not shy or afraid of speaking out, do these leaders sometimes let the pendulum swing too far the other direction and maybe even worse, come across as an abrasive dictator? And like you say, nobody wants to work for someone like that. Is that what you see as well for those that are not shy?
Well, I think there's two pieces to that. There are some people who come on too strong, and they need to learn how to tone it down at times because not everyone's wired like that. You touch on something a little different as well, which is that there are many people who are extremely effective, really good at writing software, building bridges, making sausages, whose personality is a little too much for people. I call them abrasive. And organizations try to keep them around because their technical expertise is really valued. But sometimes they don't know how to speak to people respectfully. Sometimes they're frankly quite disrespectful, or they do things that are unsuitable, inappropriate, etc. So that's a different category. Many of those people are also coachable as well, but it takes a different approach, and it really takes much more active support from senior management to make that work. Like, in order to work with somebody like that, they've got to hear from their boss, like, you got to get your behavior together or you may not have a role here anymore. So it's 3 different classifications, if you would.
For over 2 decades, you have taught to lead so others will follow, teaching what words, tone, and energy that they get attention. Does this continue to be rewarding for you to see these leaders get results that maybe before they only dreamed of?
Well, I have a number of friends who keep saying to me, when are you going to retire? And I keep saying, well, I will when I'm not having fun anymore and when I'm not making a difference. And sometimes, quite frankly, I have a tendency to overwork and I work too much. And then what I love to do becomes a little bit of a burden. And my wife gets mad at me for working too much, just to be quite candid. On the other hand, most of the time, it really does excite me to be able to help someone get better and become a more effective leader. And my basic mindset is this: if I can help one leader become more effective, more potent, more powerful, where she or he is causing more people to follow their lead and they get good stuff done, I'm having a great impact on the world. So that's what turns me on. And it is when I see someone able to think about things differently or to change their behavior, it does pump me up. It really does. So that is my big turn on, quite frankly.
Well, it seems you are continuing to make a difference out there, and you're definitely still having fun doing it. We are very glad to tell your story. Viewers, let's take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to see is their website. On the website, you can see all the services their team provides. I mean, check out the testimonials. They've helped hundreds of organizations and leaders out there. If you're needing a senior thought partner to help you develop the thinking and behaviors needed in becoming a compelling leader, reach out today for a phone call. They can touch base with you, find out if that is a good fit for you. Once again, that is Resources in Action, helping you take your leadership to the next level as you develop your executive presence. Interact, innovate, and achieve. This is Gary Atencio with CNTV, and if you don't know, now you know.